Mr. Schober, why, before we talk about the resignation and how that happened, what do you think has happened to the Secret Service? I mean, this whole thing is it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it certainly is a mess, and it's not the first time that something's happened or a breach like this. When you just look back at the recent history, just the past 5 years, there's been 16 people that have jumped the White House fence and have gotten different access of the White House alone. Six of those breaches were this year alone, not to mention the recent one. So it's certainly alarming. You wonder, how could it happen that much, supposedly the most secured house in the United States, and yet these breaches just keep happening again and again.
Now, you, with the expertise that you have, how can you explain that, and what do you do to correct it?
Well, first of all, a lot of people seem to be focusing, and even the Secret Service in a lot of their comments, they kind of classified it as a fence breach. It's not just a fence breach or a jumper. It's a much bigger problem because several layers of security failed here. It wasn't just somebody physically climbing the fence. And the fence it's tall, but it's not that tall. It's 7 feet 6 inches high. The last time that they raised the fence in height was back in 1965, and nothing's changed since then as far as the fence. And that was originally really put there to keep out livestock. So it really is not going to prevent bad guys from hopping over and getting there. What really is supposed to happen, it's supposed to slow people down. And so in a sense, to deter, it slows them down because they do have at all times 2 sharpshooter snipers up on the roof of the White House that are watching, one with binoculars and one alongside that's obviously trying to take out if there is anybody that breaches the fence and starts to get close to it. So obviously something went wrong clearly right there, and they're investigating this. But the factor that comes up again and again and again is the human error, and that's what I see here, and that's usually the weakest link in this. And obviously they'll say they're under budget, understaffed. It's probably time to get new oversight, new staff, and proper training so this doesn't keep happening year after year, threat after threat, because President Obama is, I guess, considered the most powerful ruler in the world, but he's also one of the most threatened. They've reported that there's 3 times as many death threats against President Obama as comparison to all the prior presidents. So that tells you something right there. He is a target, and it's very important that they beef up security and make changes immediately.
You know, I'm so glad you said that. I wasn't really, I heard, but I wasn't aware of it from, somebody like yourself who was an expert. 3 times as many death threats against President Obama than any of his predecessors. How do you account for that?
Well, I mean, the natural thought is one would have to say, is it because of race? I think that probably certainly plays into the picture, and it's pretty obvious there. He doesn't have friends in all places in the world, but even here in America, there's a lot of enemies that he has. But strictly looking from the security standpoint, regardless of race and who's in charge, they have to make some significant adjustments, and they have to do it immediately, which is obvious why just, I guess, less than 30 minutes ago, as you were mentioning, Julia Pearson had to resign from her post. That's probably step one. That probably will calm people down because people throughout America are very irate and they're very upset that this happened. And in fact, they're probably furious with the Secret Service. There's been so many shenanigans that have happened where they've gotten drunk and scandals with prostitutes in other countries and lack of training. And this goes on and on and on. And I guess from a security perspective, one surprising thought was, go back only 2 months ago, and they actually apprehended this guy and talked to him and found that he had weapons in the car, a map with the White House on there, and they let him go, which certainly is a concern because they basically said he is not a threat to the White House or security or anyone there. So it makes you wonder what happened.
Listen, Mr. Schober, at least they took his weapens.
That's true. They took his weapons, so we got more this time.
Right. He came in with a knife rather than because he still would have gotten in there even if he'd had. He had 2 sniper rifles, a shotgun, and
a machete.
He
could do some damage with that. He wasn't there to prune the lawns or the bushes for sure. So there was some concern, that's for sure.
Oh boy, this is something else.
Crazy. Yeah.
Listen, we have a clip that I'd like you to respond to, okay?
Sure, go ahead.
It's highly unusual and extraordinary that this guy could get through all of those protections, those barriers, and get into the House the way he did. I think this is probably the most extraordinary breach. You really have to come to either one or two conclusions. Either they are extraordinarily incompetent or this was deliberate. Mm-hmm. And when I begin to think about why would they deliberately do something like this, the only conclusion that I could come to is that they want to send a signal that he's vulnerable. Send it to all of those people with whom he's extraordinarily unpopular and those who would want to do him harm.
Okay. In other words, to say that somebody else would have the opportunity, they should take it. Is that what you're saying?
It's a psychological message to others that he is vulnerable. If you want to come get him, you can.
Right, exactly, which is why the retired Secret Service gentleman and Verna said that Gonzalez should have been dead, and I agree with that.
He should have been dead.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Yep.
Excellent point, Mohammed. Thank you so much, sir. All right. That, Mr. Schober, was a caller from yesterday. When we were talking, that was, of course, before the resignation of the director and all. Respond to what the caller said yesterday that we just replayed for you. That was, of course, before the resignation and all. But, and one of the Republicans on the committee said, quote, light security around the president is the worst possible signal to send to terrorists and our enemies around the world, end quote.
Sure, and the caller and probably other listeners have similar sentiments, because I would think in the back of one's mind, and certainly in my mind, you would ask yourself, well, if the U.S. Secret Service can't keep the president safe, how can the government in general keep America safe? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And somebody's going to back up, and a reasonable person would look at this situation and say, it's not a single element. This was a series of 5 or 6 serious areas of physical security that was lax, that they just turned their head to, or it appears they turned to the head to, or didn't take it seriously. I don't know if we mentioned before, just leaving the front door unlocked.
Right.
That's huge. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. If you think about the fence, okay, fence, make a bigger fence. Would that stop somebody? That's really just to slow somebody down. So I don't think, again, that's the issue. That's more of an excuse. But the layers of security that failed, the alarm box, when somebody enters the main front entrance of the White House, that alarm is supposed to go off because that alerts all the other alarm boxes and all personnel that are on duty where the breach occurred. So I think that the caller was inferring that perhaps was there a plot? Was there something sinister to send a message to terrorists? It is possible, but I think more here is, again, weakness in the human element of physical security. There's 3 usual components in physical security that experts will put in place. They're physical obstacles, including here the fences, walls, things of that sort. The secondary main area component would be some type of surveillance, lights, heat sensors, detectors, intrusion, cameras, so on and so forth. And then a third, how do they actually apprehend anybody that's trying to breach or attack so they could move in and take them out of the situation? And there again, they have snipers. They also have plainclothes agents that were there that he did get past as well. Very surprising. I've been into the White House many times. It's tough to get into the East Room. You can't just walk right in there.
And
you need to be escorted.
It should be, right.
You know, and two, we design and sell security tools. One of our customers is certainly the White House, as well as all the other agencies. Mm-hmm. They are very good at using tools and wireless security to advance, and attack any possible threats with a wireless infrastructure there. Now, the physical security, that's a very different beast because you need to have a presence at different spots. And in fact, I think it was reported that the person that actually stopped this individual, Omar Gonzalez, was actually off duty.
Yeah, that's what I understood too. Right, he was changed.
Which amazed me.
He was getting ready to go home.
He was going to go sit up in the Oval Office and kick his feet back.
Right, exactly. Whatever he was going to do, but he wasn't on duty. I heard the same thing.
So
let me ask you this before we run out of time. because you've given us some great information, Mr. Schober. What about the situation? Did she resign on her own, or was her resignation insisted upon? What's your feeling on that?
She probably resigned on her own to save face, but she had strong pressure. If she didn't do it soon, it was going to happen, if you know what I mean.
Both sides of the aisle were saying,
exactly.
You got to go.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
right.
Point well taken. Yes, very good.
Yeah. Let's take a quick caller who's been holding. Tommy, go right ahead, sir.
Well, first of all, let me say good afternoon to you, Cliff, and good afternoon to your guest. And I'd like to say to you, sir, you said that you guys sell different apparatuses for security. How about the product called Reality, Common Sense, and we ain't trying to protect you? How about that one? Because watch this. We started this show off, and we clearly said that 3 times a threat has been made against not just any individual, but the President of the United States of America. Now, all of a sudden, the media and people are trying to spin that you don't think that the White House is protected above all kind of means. You think that all that's going on with the White House is 2 characters up on a building with a sniper rifle and some binoculars and fences and all the rest of it, and then you turn around and you say the front door is open, the alarms is off, character is running around, the dog's asleep, nobody else is around, and the man is arrested by somebody who ain't even on duty. I mean, the message is not being sent to the terrorists. The message is being sent to the President of the United States of America to say to him he must be saying some things in them offices that people don't like. So check this out, Doc. We cannot mess with you, but one thing that will mess with you if you feel or think that your family is not protected. I mean, at some point you begin to...
Tommy, give me a sentence. What are you saying?
My sentence is simply is this, Cliff. These people are sending a message to the President of the United States of America. I don't know what he's about to do, but they're telling him, but you better be aware of what we can do. We'll shut the whole damn thing down. Thank you, Cliff.
Okay. Response to that, Mr. Schober?
I could hear in his voice his frustration.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure other listeners probably concur, and I can understand and identify.
But he's saying a little something different here. He's talking about sending it to the president. Other people, in what we heard yesterday, were saying just they're sending it to the terrorists and those others. As you mentioned, he's gotten 3 times as many death threats as any of his predecessors. And what people are saying is that it's obvious that the Secret Service is not doing a job. So, in other words, if you want to take him out, you can probably work it out. But what this call is, what Tommy is saying is, it's a message to the president. How do you?
I think in this particular case, Mr. Gonzalez, it was confirmed he was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah. He
served himself as a sniper in Iraq. He's been caught months prior with a map, with ammunition, as we mentioned. He has some emotional difficulties and some problems. Is he himself a terrorist or behind some terrorist organization? I don't think so, based upon the information I see. Mm-hmm. Is it some sinister plot again from terrorists to send a message to President Obama? I don't think so. I think this is a clear incident where they were lax in security across the board. Mm-hmm. They're embarrassed.
I agree with you. I think Mr. Gonzalez is just one of many veterans who are suffering from PTSD.
Yeah, sure.
But all of that happened. I mean, my goodness, you're talking about just one mistake after the other.
Exactly. He shouldn't have had the ability to even be in front of the White House, because 2 times prior, they concluded he wasn't a security threat. Mistake 1, mistake 2.
Exactly.
End of story. So, absolutely.
Mr. Schober, we're going to have to be getting back to you because we've got a number of callers we didn't get to, and of course, this just happened today. So you're great. You're not only are you an expert security person, you're an expert guest. Okay.
Thank you very much for the time.